Right, so I want to talk about winner takes all politics. Do you know there is a formula for selecting leaders in elections? We have proportional representation, and we have another formula we call winner takes all formula, which is also called the first past the post system. It's called winner takes all formula. And so if we go conduct elections and you get 10 of the votes and then I get 9 of the votes, it's a simple majority. The one who won with 10 votes or who got 10 votes will win. The one who got 9 votes will lose. And sometimes so if you win everything, even though the difference between you who had 10 votes and the one who had 9 votes is just 1. You win everything. Sometimes if you have a lot of political parties or a lot of people contesting or sharing a vote, it is possible that you have somebody who may have a minority of the votes still winning. And so we go conduct or contest elections. I get 10 votes and then you get 5 votes. Another person gets 5 votes. Another person gets 5 votes. Because I had 10 votes, I will be declared a winner. But if you put together the votes of the 3 other candidates, they will amount to 15 votes, and so 15 votes go waste. I get 10 votes, and then I'm adjudged a winner, and I get all the glories associated with winning. So that's the first past the post, or the winner takes all electoral formula. It is to be contrasted with proportional representation. Proportional representation simply says that the votes you get should be, a percentage of the vote you get should be proportional to the number of your performance. So for instance, if we hold elections and then a whole country is constituted into one constituency, you get 10% of the voting, you get 10% of the seats in parliament, for instance. So if you get 20%, you get 20% of the seats in parliament. Somebody may get 51%, and under winner takes all electoral formula, 51% gets everything. But under proportional representation, if I get 51% and then the other parties get 20%, 15%, 5%, etc., they would all get seats in proportion to the votes, the percentage of the votes that they had. So that's first winner takes all electoral formula, and then also proportional representation. But I am not talking about winner takes all as a formula for selecting leaders, a formula that is used by the by an electoral commission in determining who a leader is. I'm talking about winner takes all politics. It is different from winner takes all electoral formula. So winner takes all politics is a coinage, a recent coinage. I think we coined it when we're working at the Institute of Economic Affairs, the governance unit, way back in 2013, where we tried to look at winner takes all formula as a means of selecting leaders, and then looking at how people also felt marginalized in governance. We tried to use that electoral formula coinage to also coin a new term with its own definition. So when we talk about winner takes all politics, we are talking about the practice of, number one, state capture and partisan monopolization of power, opportunities, and resources by a ruling party and its cronies, to the exclusion of all other people who are not part of the ruling party and the ruling government. That's winner takes all politics. The practice of state capture, partisan monopolization of power, opportunities, and resources by a ruling party and its cronies and followers, to the exclusion of all other people who do not belong to that ruling party. That is winner takes all politics. Yes, if you win, If a leader goes through elections and win, we are not saying that once you win, necessarily you must form a coalition government and bring on board all other people to be part of the governance process. That is not the case at all. But we are talking about an arrangement that ensures that even though a winner would emerge, others who would not win the election would still be able to go about their normal duties. They would have equal opportunities. We don't want a situation where simply because one person has won election, all others are excluded from other opportunities. And so if a party wins election, those support base that do not support the party are excluded from the opportunities of employment. You cannot win a contract because your party has not won. You cannot get employment in ministries, departments, and agencies because your party has not won. You cannot continue with any arrangement that you are doing for the state because power has changed hands. That is partisan monopolization of power, opportunities, and resources. We are not saying that government of the day should come and share resources, monies to every Ghanaian. But let us govern under winner takes all. If we are fighting against winner takes all politics, it means we are governing in such a way that the resources will be equitably distributed. The resources that are used in developing the country will be distributed equitably in terms of sending developmental projects everywhere. If there is an opportunity for all of us to make money within the state, the opportunity should not be restricted to only the ruling party and its cronies, but all others. And so that is winner takes all politics. The practice of state capture and partisan monopolization of power, opportunities, and resources by a ruling party and its cronies to the exclusion of all other Ghanaians. Sometimes it is done in such a way that all other Ghanaians include people in opposition, not only people in opposition, but independent minds, people in academia, people who are not partisan. They are all relegated to the background under the regime of winner takes all politics, simply because, well, they didn't support the party in its quest to becoming in its quest to be elected. And it's a very serious problem for governance and leadership of every developing country. But what are some of the causes of winner takes all politics? There are many, and I would urge my students to read the several write-ups and publications on winner takes all by myself to appreciate what causes winner takes all politics. But fundamentally, it's a certain misunderstanding on the part of political elites about democratic governance. I mean, democratic governance is not winner takes all politics. It is tolerant of the need for others to also exist. And if you want to tolerate others and respect their existence, then you do not take all power to yourself. So fundamentally, people misunderstand the idea of governance and democratic governance. Also, it emerges because of the idea of dictatorship that is ingrained in the psyche of many African leaders, even when they are governing in democratic regimes. Theirs is, look, you are to dictate, and if you are you are going to dictate, then all powers and all resources, all opportunities must be for you, so that you can dictate and then also dispense goodies to your followers and your clients. Again, winner takes all politics is also caused by extreme poverty and hunger. He who wins an election would have an access to ATM machine on his veranda, and once there is poverty and people do not know the next, people who get into power do not know the next time they would have access to power and get all the resources. Once they don't know, once they get onto power, they want to hold on to everything to the exclusion of all other people. Because if you don't hold on to it and get the most out of it, the next time opportunities are not open, you may be poor. People get out of power and they say, oh, it is a hell to be in opposition, and so they become so poor. And so once they get to power, because they want to feel secure, they want to hold on to all. And then the other bit is about neo-patrimonialism and power drunk nature of our leaders, and then the need to decimate the opposition. People would want to do everything possible to cut the opposition into size so that they become power drunk and remain in power in perpetuity. In that case, what happens is that you want to take everything and to suffocate the opposition in a manner that would stifle them and to possibly ensure that they no longer have the muzzle to flex or muzzle to exist, so that regimes would want to continue remaining in power as their only regime. So sometimes it is deliberate just to muzzle out the opposition and to make sure that they do not have what it takes to survive. But what are some of the effects of winner takes all politics? When you win and then you want to take everything, the effect number one is that it makes election a do or die battle. Like I said, he who wins an election would have an access to an ATM machine on his veranda, and if you would get that ATM machine on your veranda, then election should be a do or die. Because if you win power, you win everything. You win access to all opportunities, power, and resources. So that is how come every now and then, anytime we're going to hold elections, you have people hoarding food, storing all manner of foodstuffs, and anytime there's going to be election, people get into the forests and then they go and pray for peaceful election. Anytime we are going to hold election, there is this morbid fear of democratic relapse, because the electioneering campaign and the political temperature peaks, because people see the election as do or die. If you win, you have access to ATM machine on your veranda. You win everything. If you lose everything. And so it makes election a do or die affair. And every nation that is trying to consolidate its democracy cannot afford to always go through an election with that kind of do or die mentality. Because when election is seen as a do or die affair, it always threatens to relapse our democracy. And democracy is not properly consolidated anytime it threatens to relapse. Elsewhere, when there is going to be election, people go about their campaigning and people go about their activities without any fear and without any threat, without any feeling that the democratic gains can relapse. But in our part of the world, every now and then, if there's going to be election, the prayer warriors are praying. People are storing gari, people are storing rice, people are storing basic food staples, people are doing all manner of things, and people are always scared. People are sending their children out of the shores of the country to abroad, because they fear there could be conflict, there could be democratic relapse, and it doesn't help our quest and our drive towards democratic maturity. That is number one. Number two, winner takes all politics also brings about another effect, is that it brings about a needless dissipation of brains and national talents that are needed for national development. Because there is winner takes all politics, whoever wins finds it difficult to reach out to the other side or across the political divide and to civil society and academia for appointments. And so they are always appointing party cronies, party apparatchiks, without recourse to meritocracy. And so in that case, the national brains and talents, the human resource that we have as a nation that could be harnessed to bring about development is wasted. And so you are in academia and you are not a party supporter. Nobody would call you and ask you to participate or contribute your quota to to the governance process. And that is those of us in academia, civil society leaders, they suffer the same fate. And so as for politicians across the political divide, the least said about them, the better, because nobody would give you that chance, regardless of your intelligence and regardless of what you have to offer for national development, because there is winner takes all politics and you do not belong to the ruling party. It becomes difficult for you to be appointed to help. And so it leads to an unnecessary wastage and dissipation of national brains and national talents that we need for national development. And then also, because of that, because of winner takes all politics, you would always have square pegs in round holes in terms of appointments. Look at the caliber of people who are appointed by leaders, and sometimes they leave much to be desired. They don't have what it takes to man the positions they've been appointed to man. But because of winner takes all politics, because we are not willing to bring others on board to come and assist, we leave them there. And so oftentimes you have square pegs and then in round hole, and it undermines our development. A related coinage of winner takes all politics is winner knows all politics. They win, they take over everything, and because they are doing winner takes all politics, they also do not want to consult anybody. So winner knows all. And so where clearly the government of the day can reach out to others to get an insight about how a problem can be tackled, the related practice of winner knows all prevent them from reaching out to benefit from knowledge for national development. And so it is a bit worrying in terms of the effect of the practice. It makes our election a do or die business. It wastes our national brains and talents, and then also it brings about winner knows all. We don't benefit from the knowledge and expertise of other people, and oftentimes you have appointments being made without recourse to meritocracy, culminating in always we having square pegs in round holes. And every developing country that is interested in fighting hard the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment cannot afford to have its public sector being manned by square pegs in round hole. But under the regime of winner takes all politics, you always have square pegs being placed. I mean, people owe their offices, or the only qualification that people have into political offices where they supported a political party and then they contributed to funding that political party. And that is enough to earn people a place in government. That is what happens when you have winner takes all politics. And so our effort to fight hard to extricate ourselves from the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment comes to naught so long as we practice winner takes all politics. That leads to the appointment of people who are not qualified into public positions. I would end this will be the introductory part of winner takes all politics. Now I'll look at the various manifestations of winner takes all politics in subsequent lectures. Thank you very much.